In La Liga, Real Madrid coming from behind against bottom of the table Huesca to win by 2-1. Raphael Varane with the brace in that game. He's welcoming Julien and Ali Moreno with us as well. So, Ali, how do we twist this? You're 1-0 down against a team that are rubbish. You've had a horrible 2021, but the team showed character and grit and dedication to the coach's way and his future to come back for the win. Or you're Real Madrid and you're struggling to beat Huesca.
You don't want to go down the path of the fight and character that they showed in that second half?
Well, back in my Real Madrid TV days, Ali, that would definitely be the way that we'd spun it. And Raphael Varane is the next Ballon d'Or winner. However, I feel that we can't be quite as subjective here.
I'll take you back. I'll take you back to Real Madrid days, to your days, and I'll take you back actually to December 1st of 2020 when you put out a Twitter message saying that since 2005, when you've been covering Real Madrid, that this is the worst version of Real Madrid that you can ever remember. And it's not even close. I think it was somewhere around that. It was the tweet that you put out. And I can tell you, in that first half today, I was thinking to myself, this is the worst Real Madrid I've ever seen. They could not generate anything. In the attack, they could not generate anything through the midfield. They were having difficulties defending. And you may say, well, look, it's a team that is limited because of the injuries and the absences that they had. So much so that today, if you look at the bench, it was only 6 players. And 2 out of those 6 players were goalkeepers. And so therefore, only 4 field players available to Zidane to come off the bench. So here's where you can spin it in a positive way if you're Real Madrid. You looked as bad as you did in the second half. You looked terrible in the beginning of the second half. You would give up a goal on a counterattack, which, by the way, was a great goal by Javi Galán, and what a finish that was. And Huesca hit the post a couple of times, and it looked like everything was collapsing on you. And there is no bench that is going to come up and help you either. There's no help coming from there. And so, somehow, out of nowhere, you get yourself 2 goals from, who do you think it could be? Is it going to be Benzema? No! Varane, Raphael Varane with a brace, and somehow you get 3 points out of a game that you had no business winning. But I will say that the last 30 minutes of the second half for Real Madrid were actually encouraging in the sense that, yes, there was some fight. Yes, there was some character. But this is Real Madrid, and this is Huesca, and the struggles of Real Madrid are so concerning that you look at this result and you say, yeah, this was a good result for Real Madrid. Not an expected result, but a good result for Real Madrid.
And going back to the point, Jules, it's Huesca. Bottom of the table, they've won twice all year. And I tell you what, Real Madrid made them look like Bayern Munich in the first half.
Yeah, and the defense made Rafa Mir look like Lewandowski. It was quite embarrassing to watch, to be fair, because you were like, is this really happening? And we saw them against Cadiz, and it was a bit similar, to be fair, although Cadiz are a much better team than Huesca. And it was, again, the same issues and the same problem and the same lack of intensity. And when they lose the ball, they can't recover it. They're far too open defensively. They're too vulnerable defensively. And Huesca hit the bar as well. He hit the woodwork. And Courtois had to make a couple of good saves. And then at some point, Real Madrid were too predictable. Like Ali just said, especially in that first half, there was nothing. And I think Zidane will have to find a way. Of course, you take the win and you relieve, and we saw the frustration and the anger that he had in his pre-match press conference, and we'll talk about that in a bit. But so you take the win and you're still alive, and they were still alive in the last half hour. But this is not good enough. I'm sorry, you can't accept that as a good performance for Real Madrid. And even if you get the 3 points, I agree with Ali. This is very, very worrying still.
When they were 1-0 down, Jules, was he getting sacked at the end of the match?
I think they know that there's no point sacking him anyway. What are you going to do? You're going to put Raúl in charge for the last 4 months of the season, and then you reassess everything in the summer. May as well keep him until the end of the season. He will do his best, and you know he will work hard. Okay, maybe his a bit short of ideas. Maybe he's a bit short of solution to find the best way with all the injuries and the lack of form, the lack of confidence of certain players. Okay, I get you that. But when you lose Sergio Ramos, and we've seen in many of the defeats this season, it was when Ramos wasn't there. I think he's very difficult in terms of leadership and all of that. But I think there's no point sacking him now in February, mid-February. May as well keep him, seeing how they do in the Champions League, seeing if they can finish second, top 4, all that kind of stuff. And then in the summer, he knows he's not going to be there next season. They know he won't be there next season. So you can already work on who you're going to get in the summer. And then you have a proper summer where you worked on your team with a new manager, you do a good preseason, and then you start again. But I'm not really sure it'd be very useful to them to sack him now.
Is that the right strategy, Ali?
Yeah, I think you're to the point now, if you're Real Madrid, if you actually evaluate yourself and you're objective with yourself, you know that what's available right now to Zinedine Zidane is not a truly competitive team at the elite level. And so therefore, you ride Zidane as long as you possibly can, and you start making a plan for that transition. But here is where Real Madrid have to prove that indeed they can put together a plan in place and that they can execute that plan. And that in itself is a little questionable, because similar to Barcelona, sometimes the decisions that are made by Real Madrid are more emotional than objective, are more about what you feel like when you wake up in the morning in a bad mood and you say, yeah, that's what we're doing, instead of actually putting that plan that makes sense. So if indeed you feel like Zidane is gone at the end of the season, then okay, here is what we want to do. Let's identify the candidates. Let's identify what is it that we want out of our candidates. And indeed, let's go after our first option. And let's go after a guy that we believe is going to bring us the best opportunities to be successful long term. That sounds easier and simple than what it has been in the past for both Barcelona and Real Madrid. But you would assume that if indeed you have this time, this leeway, that you would be able to put that plan together. We'll see.
Zidane, as you mentioned, lost it yesterday in the press conference, was asked if he was going to walk and said, you need to give me respect, you need to see what we've done, what we've achieved over the years. What will happen to Zidane, Jules, when he leaves Real Madrid?
It's a good question. I mean, I can understand somehow, in a way, his frustration from yesterday. It reminded me a bit of the Mourinho, I've won 3 Premier League, more than all the other 19. It was a bit of that, like, look at what I've done. I've won La Liga, I've won 3 Champions League in a row, I've won a lot of things. Okay, I had a great squad, but please. And I think he would want to actually show people in another club, in another league, what he can do and how good a manager he can be. I think at some point he would be French national team head coach, there's no doubt, whether that's straight after Deschamps, whenever Deschamps stops, or maybe he takes another job first at club level and then he goes with the national team. But that's inevitable, I think. But then in between, what do you do? I think the Juventus, we thought at some point, would be the next step. But now with Pirlo in charge, I think Pirlo is the long term, and I can't see them getting rid of Pirlo, for example, this summer, and then bringing Zidane straight from Real Madrid. So it'd be interesting to see where he goes next. But I think certainly in his mindset right now is, okay, I will have to prove somewhere else what I can do, and that everything that I achieved at Real Madrid was not a fluke. It was not just down to Cristiano or not just down to Sergio Ramos. It was also part to me, my tactics, how much I've improved as a manager, because he's a very different manager now than he was in his first season when he won the Champions League, for example. So I think he would be eager to show that to people, because I think he's had enough of people saying, well, he succeeded because he was just Real Madrid, and any of us could have done that.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.